So her response is so logical and so cool. She pulls out a gun and threatens to shoot herself. Hi, my name is Alyssa and I like to watch movies, especially fight movies. I'm talking movies with sweaty men hitting other sweaty men. Will man lose? Yes, but will man win? Oh, sorry. Are you asking me? Folks, believe it or not, I do not watch live fighting. Fork, pound, and kitchen. But fighting movies? Girls, that's a whole other story. I have a really big soft spot for fighting movies, which are essentially movies where characters have to use their fighting skills to overcome any challenge out there. Growing up with a single Gen Xer dad, I was raised on fighting movies. I'm talking classics like Drunken Master, Rocky IV, and adaptations of video games that I only knew because I saw my brother playing them on his GameCube. And while a good majority of fight movies fall into what I would categorize as dude camp, which are films that hyper focus on the hyper masculinity used to solve any problems, which is a smidgen of homoeroticism.
Son of a bitch.
Some fight movies are just prestigious. I'm talking Oscar-nominated fight movies. And you know how you sweeten that deal? You make it a biopic. Oh, yeah. You know how you make it even sweeter? Make it a period piece. Oh my god, I'm literally making an Oscar-winning movie as we speak. But someone already beat me to the punch, and that someone is Safdie. And yes, girls, we're talking The Smashing Machine. The Smashing Machine is a period piece biopic based on the HBO documentary. It's an adaptation. Somebody call Hollywood. I got an Oscar winner right here. But when The Rock is allegedly given more than half of the film's budget, I can't help but wonder, what's going on here? Don't get it twisted, Mark Kerr is kind of an icon in himself. If you don't know, like I didn't before going into this movie, Mark Kerr is like the grandfather daddy of the MMA. The MMA. Not only was he boots on the ground when mixed martial arts was being noticed in the US, but he did continue to be a giant pioneer for the sport even when it was banned in the USA, and that is called thickening the plot. Kerr is a complicated human being, believe it or not. Yes, he seems to have a really good heart, but he has his demons, he has his ups and his downs, and gosh darn it, it does deserve a movie. But when The Rock buys the rights to Kerr's life story, and then makes a spectacle about announcing the movie based on this man's life, I can't help but take a moment, take a big old sniff of what's happening, and go, oh. So he's desperate for an Oscar. Got it. And guys, I'm gonna be really real with you. I am so neutral on The Rock. I don't really watch all of his movies. I know you guys do. I see the box office numbers. And I support Safdie. I like most of his movies. I enjoy Good Times. I liked Uncut Gems.
Right.
But I do not know if style is enough to make a successful movie. And here we are in this weird era of A24 where they are trying to make blockbusters. And I get it. They got a little taste of that Oscar with Moonlight and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and they said, I want another. Give me please. I would like it please. And so why not try to go for an Oscar with an adaptation biopic of a prestigious wrestling movie that's set in the early 2000s? Can you smell that? Can you smell what that is? Yeah, that's Oscar bait. And so seeing that this movie reeks of Oscar bait, but also has that indie prestigiousness of Safdie, and then it also has The Rock doing whatever The Rock is doing currently, I feel inclined to be a little bit lenient with this movie if it were great. I would argue that this is not your run-of-the-mill fight movie, and I don't know if that's a good thing. And so what The Smashing Machine ends up becoming is a movie that is outdone by its own ambition. And so why did this happen, you asked with bated breath? Well, let me tell you. And before we get into my, spoiler-heavy recap of The Smashing Machine, maybe like and subscribe. Also, tonight I am just drinking water. I am just a healthy girl. Hydrate or dihydrate. Did I say Mark Kerr? We open with Mark Kerr on his debut to the MMA. As mentioned, Kerr is played by Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which everyone in these interviews is calling it DJ. love. If you guys did not know, The Rock is a former WWE wrestler who is a Nepo baby. Yeah. He was a Nepo that was supposed to be like a hero, but the audience didn't like him because he was a Nepo, so he turned heel, and then he said, I'm gonna be an actor. I'm gonna be an actor. I also just want to point out that The Rock currently is 3 years younger than the living Mike. Why do I keep calling him Mike? Mark Kerr. And it's wild because The Rock now looks like Mark Kerr when he was like 25. And if that happened to me, if like a 50-year-old actor who was 3 years younger than me, being 53, played me when I was 25, you would have to throw me into a graveyard. I am so sorry. Like, that's the end of it for me, girls. Call it a day. We are in 1998. I was not born yet. We are in the infancy of the UFC. Kerr is a prominent fighter in the UFC because he has never lost a fight. But girls, he doesn't do it for the fame or the fans. No, he loves it for the high of the fight, baby. He, in an interview, says that he loves the rush that he gets when he feels an opponent physically give up in his arms. He says, and I quote directly, "You feel when it happens, when a person just lets go and totally withers away in your arms." I don't know that feeling. I'm sorry, cannot relate. Mark's ambition is limitless, but his body has limits. After years of fighting, his body can't keep up, and so he turns to opioids to heal the pain. But luckily, he does have a loving partner who's helping take care of him, Dawn, played by Emily Blunt. Dawn is a woman who loves to party. She is a girl with French tip nails and a bump it in her hair. She is a woman who would smell aggressively of Victoria's Secret's perfume and faint cigarettes. And I have a soft spot for her. Her and Mark get along because she likes to take care of him and he likes to kiss her. Her and Mark are living a domestic life together in Phoenix. They also have a cat that you will never see again. Everyone say goodbye to the cat. And while Mark is being Dawn's big strong man, he is having a hard time after the UFC is banned in the US. Not only does my big strong man have to fly all the way to Japan and coach, but he's also struggling to get paid for the thing he loves to do. But he keeps doing it despite not being paid because he likes to win. But the life of a fighter is not glamorous. No, girlies. And to make matters a little bit worse, Dawn just randomly shows up to surprise him while he's getting in the zone for his debut Pride match. She is upset that he is not paying attention to her because he is pretty focused on getting ready to be in a match. That's really big and important. And she's like, "Oh, so you're high right now on opioids. Got it. Yeah, be a drug addict." Dawn, not the time, not the place. She almost breaks his trance and he's like, "I will talk to you after this match. I'm gonna go fight right now and keep winning money so I can pay for our house back in Phoenix, okay? Thanks." But he is not in the right mindset, which is not good when you're about to fight a guy who is known for his gnarly ass punches. I would love to say this fighter's name. I'm gonna butcher it. His name is...
Build a website you love with Wix.
Why are we getting ads?
We are looking at her.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never
Alexander Usyk.
And unfortunately, Alexander kicks Mark's ass. Well, his face. He needs him in the face consistently until he passes out. Yikes. For the first time in his professional career, Mark Kerr has lost. To cope with this loss, Mark decides that now is a really great time to get heavy into opioid use. And this is starting to stress out Dawn. She's like, "Oh, so you want to give more attention to your opioids than me? That's fun." Dawn is like, "What are you doing? You're sitting in here like a zombie. You're not hiding your drugs from me. They're just out everywhere. What is this? It's giving addiction." Mark snaps and he's like, "Let me smash this door real quick," and then pout on the kitchen table because this is not what I want to hear right now. I'm having a really hard time. And Dawn's like, "What can I do for you?" And he says, "I want you to treat me like a man." And so she hugs him and she goes, "You're my big strong man." Yeah, Unfortunately, things take a turn for the worse when Mark's current coach, Mark Coleman, who we'll be calling Coleman because I now just realized that there are 2 Marks in this movie, he gets a phone call from Dawn and she's freaking out on the phone. She goes, "Hey, so Mark had an overdose. Help." Luckily, Mark survives. Things are good. Coleman flies to Phoenix and he's like, "Hey dude, what's going on?" Kerr is like, "Well, I'm going through a lot," and then just starts crying. Kerr's addiction is stemming from his physical abuse to his body. And like, this is a common problem for like many professional wrestlers. These are men and women who've made a life out of fighting. This is how they put food on the table. And so to continue fighting, to continue entertaining, you have to push your body, even when it's telling you to stop and heal. And then it creates this vicious cycle of performing in pain and barely any rehabilitation before you get back out there. And it just creates a vicious cycle that's incredibly hard to break out of, especially when you're not making that much money on the road. But it's like, when is a love for something you do no longer enough? Luckily, Kerr has a lot of support from people in his life, and he does end up going to rehab. We're time jumping a month. Within that month, we see that Coleman has taken up Kerr's mantle at Pride and is now like kind of dominating the heavyweight competition there. When Dawn does eventually pick up Kerr from the rehab, she's like, "What if we went to the fair? And what if I rode the Gravitron?" She ends up having to ride the Gravitron solo style because Kerr has a tummy problem and it's gonna make him sick. But this scene really showcases who Dawn is. She is a girl who loves to be wild. She is a girl who loves to be free. She is Lana Del Rey in the Ride music video. She lives for the fast times and the fast lives of professional wrestler WAG. So when Kerr is sober, Dawn is like, "But what if, and hear me out, I wasn't." For someone who legit just got out of rehab, he's like, "Hey, what if you were a really good support system and like didn't drink or do drugs?" Just a thought. But Dawn is frustrated and she's like, f you. And like breaks this beautiful bowl that he got her from Japan, tells him to hit her during a fight, and then just exits stages right. And I'm like, oh, okay. Kerr, this is a lot. Maybe you should go into a montage Rocky 3 style and get in shape for the next Pride. I have mentioned Pride a few times and I know what you're thinking. Love is love. But we're not talking about that kind of Pride. No girly pops. We are talking about Pride, the MMA fighting match in Japan. After the UFC was banned in the United States for being too violent, Pride was the leading MMA organization from like 1996 to like 2006. What ended up happening in 2006 was that a scandal broke that they had connections to the Yakuza. But in its heyday, it was giving professional fighters a chance to be seen on a global stage. And so with Pride 2000 coming up, Kerr has to get back in shape so he can win that 2 million yen. Mark is training with the iconic MMA fighter Bob Rutten, who is helping Kerr get back into shape for the big fight. However, during this Rocky-like montage, Ba ends up having like kind of like a seizure situation happening when he's like displaying how he should punch somebody and then just like locks up from a previous pain injury he has in his hand. Obviously, Mark wants to help his coach, and so you know what he does? He pulls out his opium kit that he just has in his locker. Mark? What's going on? Don't worry, Mark immediately tells Ba and the audience that he isn't using, but that he's gonna help relieve the pain by giving his coach opium. I guess, yeah, sure. Like, why are we bringing this up, Benny? What's the point? Also, I would love to point out, just in this like montage scene that we're getting of The Rock training, he is giving thunder thighs, and I'm like, whoa. That's my winter inspiration. This is what Abby in The Last of Us 2 should have looked like, but you were all too afraid and way too mean to the creators when they released the video game. He's also like in booty shorts the whole time and these oversized shirts, and I'm like, oh, that's who I want to be. I finally know who I want to be. A grown-up man in a big ass suit. I was gonna end up wearing a really big t-shirt and some booty shorts for this video, but I put on the shirt and I looked at myself in camera and I said, oh, I look dumb. The thing is, I do not have the physique of The Rock. Imagine if I did. That would be kind of crazy, not gonna lie. Do you guys remember the rugby player from like the US Olympics this past summer? And like, I think about her in like the skim swimsuit and I'm like, oh, yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. After the training montage that is set to My Way by Frankie Sinatra, Dawn is here to pick up our grown-up man in a big ass tea. Bala's like, hey Mark, I don't think you should go home with Dawn. I think you should stay here and keep training before Pride 2000. And Mark is like, no, that's my girl. I'm gonna stick beside her. And you know what? It goes as poorly as you expect it would. After Mark decides to shave off his hair and go bald, love, they decide to throw a little party. They're setting up for the party and Dawn is pissed City Central because guess what? Mark doesn't want to go out because he wants to stay sober and kind of focus on training. Dawn is like, oh, so you suck and I hate you. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute, where is this coming from? And she goes, tell me, just say it to my face that you don't want me to go to Japan. And he goes, hey, I don't want you to go to Japan. And she's like, oh, just break up with me then. And he goes, okay. Leave. Exit my house that I pay for and leave. So her response is so logical and so cool. She pulls out a gun and threatens to shoot herself. Here is the problem with Dawn. Love her to bits. I wish the best for her, but she has some selfishness going on in her, believe it or not. And I get that she lives for the risk and the rowdiness of life, but like, that's not who Mark is. That man lives for the high of fighting. And that's his like main love. That's his main focus. And when all of his attention is on fighting, it's not on Dawn. And she loses her fucking shit. And that's kind of the big tragedy of her character, be that a very underwritten character. She is fighting to be someone's reason to exist. But that person already has a reason. So she doesn't feel like she's needed. And I'm like, girl, find a passion, find a hobby. Like, it's okay not to be the center of someone's universe. You don't have to be their gravity. And I understand that that takes people time to understand. Like, trust me, hello, I am a girl who tried to date a man for almost 2 years after he left me at a grocery store when I was 19 at like 9 p.m. So like, you live and you learn. But Dawn is not reacting in the best way possible. Like I said, she tried to off herself with a gun. Luckily, Mark wrestles it out of her hands and he's like, hey, what if we didn't do that? What if we did not do that? She then runs to the bathroom, locks herself in, and tries to take a bunch of sleeping pills. Mark is like, hey, we've already proven in this movie that I can break down doors like they're nothing. So he breaks down the door and he's like, can you not do this, please? He's just holding on to her, restraining her, and she's like, can you let me go? I fucking hate you. And he goes, I know, and I'm sorry. What a man. What a mighty good man. And I do feel bad for her, but at the same time, I'm like, girl, you can't be jealous of somebody else's motivation. Like, go to therapy, please. And maybe she'll get the help she needs after she does get arrested and promptly exits the movie. Whew. So that was really heavy. What if we watched a bunch of men hit each other? Yeah! It's emotional whiplash, but hello, welcome to the Smashing Machine. Don't know what else to tell you. This plot is moving forward. Mark Coleman is set up to fight Ole, who is the guy who did beat Mark Kerr at the original fight at the beginning of the movie. And Mark is set to fight Ensign Anui, who he was supposed to fight at a previous match, but couldn't because he overdosed. Ideally, Mark and Mark are gonna fight each other in the final matchup for the 2 million yen. Unfortunately, during his match, Mark starts to have flashbacks about his time with Dawn, his first loss, his drug use, and pretty much any bad thing that has ever happened to him in his life. Unfortunately, Mark does lose his second fight of his career, which is devastating. Or is it? It turns out that Insu, who was fighting Mark, ended up hurting his knee, so he had to withdraw from the match. So that means that Coleman and Oleski are going to have their final fight of the 2000 Grand Prix. And guess who wins? Say it with me. It's Mark Coleman. After his initial celebration, Coleman is sitting in his green room with his brand new belt and his oversized check, and he's like, wow, what's next? So how's Mark doing? He's actually doing pretty good. We cut to see him getting some stitches after his fight and then going into the showers, and then he starts laughing. He seemed to figure out why he keeps coming back to the ring, even if he doesn't always win at the end of the day. Maybe ambition isn't about winning. Maybe it's just about doing it despite the pain it might cause you. Execution isn't failure. It's just a reality check that motivates you to keep getting better. It's going to fuel your next moves. Speaking of next moves, let's do a time jump. We cut to present day to see a now retired, real life Mark Kerr grocery shopping. Yes, baby. Get those green onion pancakes from Trader Joe's. They are delicious. We get some text revealing that Mark and Dawn reconciled after the Pride fight in 2000, and they were married 11 days after the fight. Okay, not enough time for some self-reflection. They do end up getting divorced in 2006, so I guess we'll never really know what was going on in that relationship besides the initial train wreck that it always had been. We also get a little Benny PSA when he writes that most of the pioneers of MMA are often our forgotten heroes that deserve to be remembered. And one of those is Mark Kerr, the Smashing Machine. Folks, this movie is fine. Like, I don't want to be rude to Mr. Benny Safdie, but like, the Smashing Machine is not interested in interrogating Mark Kerr's life. Is that because Kerr himself was like deeply involved in the scripting process of this movie and wanted desperately to capture the emotional truth of each scene? Maybe. But like, if that's the goal of this movie, I don't know if that's gonna work out, girly pops. I hate to tell you this. Real life is kind of boring, which is not really ideal when you're playing in the sandbox of entertainment. And this could be my own bias coming out to play here, but I really thought Smashing Machine was gonna be something completely different. I thought we were gonna get like spectacle on spectacle. I thought we were gonna get a fighting movie about a man hitting the lowest of lows, coming back from his underdog story to have one last moment in the sun. I thought this was going to be a movie like Iron Claw or The Wrestler, and in fact, I had an entire different script already outlined and ready to film when I watched this movie to like basically tell you why most wrestling movies are so sad. But guys, this movie isn't that sad. It just doesn't make sense. Like, there is like no emotional weight to the Smashing Machine. It doesn't interrogate why Kerr is great. It doesn't interrogate how his drug use like impacted him and his relationships with all of his people in his life and his career within wrestling. We don't interrogate his relationship with Dawn, which is tumultuous and not good. We don't ever hear him be called the Smashing Machine, nor do we see why he is called a Smashing Machine. Unless you are a door, then you understand perfectly well. All doors were harmed in the making of this movie. Do we get a character arc? Yeah. But it's so subtle that I am not satisfied at the end of the day. When the movie ends with a bunch of text on screen kind of wrapping up the summary of the movie, I don't think you've done your job as a filmmaker. And it's tough because this movie does respect the hell out of Kerr and it respects MMA and his career within it. But why should I care? You know, in the end, the Smashing Machine isn't about who wins or loses. It's about a guy being a dude.
What's better than this?
With all this being said, I'm gonna give the Smashing Machine a B-. I still think it's a beautiful movie. I still think The Rock did a really great job in this. He rocked his little booty shorts off. Look, this isn't gonna be a movie for everybody. It's barely a movie for me. It is essentially like a vibe movie. There isn't much conflict. There is not a ton of entertainment happening. It's literally a portrait of a man's life. And if you are okay with that slice of life kind of movie, go ham, dog. I would highly recommend you check out the documentary on HBO because it's essentially what this movie is. I also highly recommend that you check out Rocky 3 because that is where Benny Safdie drew a lot of inspiration from when shaping the structure of this movie and a lot of like the style behind it. I'm personally a Rocky 4 girl because hello capitalism, hello Cold War, hello American propaganda. But let me know what you thought about the Smashing Machine. I would love to hear your opinions on it. Do you think The Rock is gonna get that Oscar? Do you think this movie is gonna get an Oscar nomination for Best Adaptation? And while you're down there, leave a like. It helps these videos out a lot. And if you're not subscribed, girl, you made it to the end. Subscribe. You can also follow me on socials. I'm talking Letterboxd, TikTok, Instagram. All those links are in the description below. And that's all I have for you folks today. So until then, go and support your local movie theaters, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.